Welcome to the Franchise Sales Podcast. Be your own boss. Buy a franchise or a business opportunity.
I'm Sam Lewis, and today I'm talking with Pam Bader, Chief Executive of the Maid UK franchise. Pam and I discuss the transitional role from being a stay-at-home mum to a woman in business, and Pam covers why age isn't a barrier when it comes to franchising, and offers her advice on how to avoid the pitfalls when searching for the right franchise for you. What I'd like from you initially is to tell us about your background, so where you started.
I was a failure when I started because I didn't pass my 11 plus. So to my parents, that was your failure. So you wouldn't be any good in anything in life. You'd say I was a failure at 11. So I left school with really no qualifications other than, no qualifications. I started training as a nursery nurse because that's quite a nice thing to do, and married very young and then had children, so then had to earn a living doing all kinds of different things that fitted in with children. And then as my children got older, I did start a boutique, up and buy a boutique. I was also involved in a building company, taking that to quite busy heights.
What motivated you back then?
I was given the opportunity with Maid and thought, I've got to make this as big as Kellogg's, and thought, oh, how the hell do you do that, you know? How am I going to do that? So it was the brand building, I think.
Are they the same motivations that drive you now?
Motivations then and what they are now to run a really successful company and grow it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Do you think the motivations for women becoming their own bosses and buying into franchise opportunities differ at all from men's motivations?
I think women, they come to us not knowing if they can do it. Men normally come thinking they can. I think that's the biggest difference. So women lack confidence and sometimes have low self-esteem. So that we really have to build with them. They also, once they start earning money, love the financial independence. Love it when they're earning more than their husbands. Which is a great, I'm earning more than him now. And that really motivates them. I don't know what it is, but it really, really does.
What attributes do you think are important for women to survive in more male-dominated industries and market sectors?
I think there is still the glass ceiling. I think young women today think that it's all even, and it's not at all. I mean, it took me 10 years to get to chair of the British Franchise Association because it was at the time very male-dominated. It's still quite male-dominated, and that was one of the things I sat and wrote down all those years ago, what I wanted to achieve, and that was one of them. And it took 10 years to get there. So I think young girls still think it's an open playing field, and I don't think it is. I think it's a lot harder. You've got to be much more skillful, politically astute, I suppose, for women to get on in business.
To what do you accredit your achievements?
Well, I suppose I was asked to get involved in government, which I did. That was a huge learning curve, just to understand what they're talking about. Every industry has a different language. Do you notice that? So you go there and you think, I don't know what they're talking about. So that was interesting because I was the only woman there with all these gentlemen who were very high-powered. And after the end of the first presentation, I said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand a word. And I'm not going to spend my time sat here hour after hour if I'm not knowing what you're talking about. And I went, oh, right. And then the man next door to me, who was very high-powered, and I won't tell you what company he worked for, said, I didn't understand a word of that either. So I thought, well, there you go, you see. You have to stick your head above the parapet.
What advice do you have for females running a business?
Oh, well, females have to work a lot harder. You just do to get to those places. You really have to promote and lobby yourself and whatever to actually get there, to break through that barrier. You don't have to be horrible or a nasty person. I think you get on far better treating people at how you want to be treated. I think that's very important and straight and honest in business. But I think women do kind of have different agendas, really, because we do have children. And if you're going to have a family, that's quite a big part of your life. So you have these divided feelings that you want to be successful in business, but then you might be 34, 35 and think, oh, maybe I should start a family. You see, men don't really have those situations. So I think in a way that makes women a little bit more vulnerable.
I wanted to ask you about the advantages of being female in running a business. And I don't know if that's maybe about skills and attributes and a different kind of skill set. And
yeah, it might be. I think women can juggle more balls in the air most of the time. I think they can do numerous things at once because we have to. Women have to manage many, many roles.
So do you think that they're almost transferable skills from dealing with all those?
Oh, yeah. Not so much now, but years ago, they'd come to me and say, I'm just a housewife. And I used to go absolutely mad. What do you mean just a housewife? You know, you're a chef. Okay, you're a cleaner. You're an accountant. You manage your housekeeping budget. All books are housekeeping. That's all it is. It's money in and money out. If you manage to save a bit on the bottom line and buy yourself a dress, that's profit. You know, it's not all big mysterious. Just buy yourself a big calculator. People make it really difficult, and some things are really easy, money in and money out. That's accounting. So it's all those issues and juggling things and looking after people, and that is what Molly Maid's all about. It's looking after your customers, it's looking after your staff, it's all those softer skills, I suppose.
You've done it. You've had children, you've been a successful businesswoman, and you've achieved an awful lot, and I wanted some advice on maybe how you've balanced things.
It's very different now, because years ago women had children younger, and now they're sort of doing careers earlier and then having children later. It's very difficult to comment on the situation now, because somebody might be 39, 40 having children, and maybe they have 10 years of looking after children. So maybe they're 50, 55 when they come back into the workplace. Not that that's a bad age to come back and have a career. You can still have a career at 55. You see, I was lucky. I was married young, had children young, so my life began when I was 40. So I'm telling people now life begins at 65, just so they don't think you're all dead and gone. And that's another, there's no ageism in franchising. You know, I had a lady years ago that came to me at 60 and said, I want to do this. And she wanted to do this because her husband had gone off with a younger model. And he'd always had a business, always wanted a business, and she wanted to prove that she could do it. And she did it. She did it.
What advice do you have for females considering buying into any franchise opportunity?
Do your homework. Just as if you were going to buy a house, you go and do your homework. Make sure it's financially sound. Make sure the business system is working. Talk to other franchise owners. Is it something that you're emotional about? When you run your own business, it's got to be something you really love. I always say it's like another child. It's very demanding. It takes over your life. You don't know what to do with it first year. You can't put it in a drawer. It keeps popping out. So is it something you're going to really enjoy doing? Are your skills going to match it? Or are they going to train you? So take time, and if they're really pushing, that maybe is not right, because you have to make the decision with them, because it's a life-changing decision. It's going to cost you money. You want a business that is reliable, goes for a long time, not just a whiz-bang in-the-pan kind of business. If you want solid financial returns, you're looking for a long-term business.
Be your own boss. Buy a franchise or a business opportunity.